This is topic 4, lesson 2, estimating quotients. So we're going to talk about how do you use compatible numbers to estimate quotients. So we're going to talk about, just like we've been talking about using estimating with multiplication, we're going to talk about estimating with quotients and division. The problem with estimating with division that's different than multiplication is you can round any multiplication number to anything, right? You can round it to any number you want to round it to. You can't do that with division, right? Because not every number is divisible by every other number. So, for example, 297 divided by 3 would not come out to be an even number. So you have to think as you're changing these numbers around, you have to think about what is divisible. So you're always kind of doing sort of a compatible number type thing. And so you're going to come up with an overestimate and an underestimate. Let's just get rid of this. So let's do, and I'm going to show you a way of doing this. The book talks about using compatible numbers and using um, rounding. But really, for one-digit divisors, really, I'm going to show you one way of doing it. And you're going to get an overestimate, and you're going to get an underestimate. And I think this is probably the clearest way of doing it. So for this purposes, you're always going to leave that 3 the same. The 3 is never going to change, okay? Because it's going to make it more accurate, and it's going to make this a little bit easier. So what you're always going to do is you're going to look at the first or the second, depending upon how big your dividend is. For our purposes, for this one, we're going to look at the first two numbers. We're going to look at 29. And we're going to think to ourselves, what number is close to 29 that is divisible by 3? And for this person, I'm going to do an overestimate, so I'm going to think higher. So 29 is not divisible by 3, but you know what it is? If I go up to 30, that is divisible by 3. Because 3 divided by 3 is 1, and then we're going to add the 2 zeros in, right? Just like we did in our last lesson. That would be an overestimate. Then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to look at these first two numbers. And I think 29 divided by 3. Well, that 29 can be changed. If I think to myself, okay, 30 is. So every three numbers are going to be divisible by 3, right? Because every third number, right? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 20, 21, so forth. So every third number is divisible by. So 30 is divisible. Now I want to go down lower than 29. 28 isn't, but 27 is. So I'm going to change that to 270. Now 270 divided by 3 is 9 and 1 0. So I know that my number, my actual number for 297 divided by 3 is somewhere between 90 and 100. And that's keeping your divisor the same, looking at the first two digits. If you have a larger number, like in other words, if this first number is bigger than your divisor, you might be able to work with just the first number. But normally you're going to work with the first two numbers and come up with a underestimate and an overestimate. So let me give you, why don't you try doing 700 divided by 9. 700 divided by 9. Okay, how do we do? So again, I'm going to keep my 9 the same. I'm going to look at 70. What can I change 70 to make it divisible by 9? 70 is not divisible by 9. 71 isn't, but 72 is. 72 divided by 9 is 8 with 1 0. So that would be 80. And my underestimate, now I'm going to go lower than 70. And again, every 9 numbers is divisible by 9, right? So we would know that in this case, it would be what? It would be 63. So I'm going to change it to 630. 663 divided by 9 is 7 with 1 0. Notice here, so notice how this is 8, this is 7. So those are the two, so because 8 times 9 is 72, and then 7 times 9 is 63. So that's my underestimate, that's my overestimate. So that, because I rounded down to 630, and I rounded up to 720. So that's going to be the easiest way to do one-digit divisors, is keep the divisor the same, and then just use the first two digits of the dividend and come up with something that's compatible. And then divide them out and use the same rules that we used in our last lesson to find your basic fact and then annex the zeros. And thank you for listening.